All right, welcome back everybody. Today's the day you're going to learn how to play Touch Me by the Doors, which is a fun little tune. This should be a pretty quick lesson, but great, interesting chord progression throughout this. And I'm going to show you how to play the great saxophone solo that happens at the end of the song, but we'll play it on guitar. It's a very guitarable solo, and so we'll take some time with that. Hey, if you haven't done so already and you like this kind of thing, please jump down and click subscribe and ring the bell. The bell lets you know every time I drop new content, which I do every single week. All my videos have chapters in them, so you can jump right to the part of the lesson that you want to see and bypass what you don't. And if you're looking for other ways to support the channel, I really appreciate that. There's thanks, which is just like throwing a tip in the tip jar right below there. Or you can join my Patreon page where I've got chord charts and tabs for all the lessons that I do on YouTube, like this one. Love to see you there. All the links are down below in the description. Okay, Touch Me. So musically, I think this was, well, I think actually most of the song was written by Robbie Krieger of the Doors, the guitar player. And originally, I just learned that the song was called Hit Me, as he wrote it. It was about him fighting with his girlfriend, I guess, a lot, or the latest fight he had with his girlfriend about whatever. A little disturbing, but it was called Hit Me, but they changed the lyric to Touch Me. And other interesting thing I didn't know was Robbie sort of borrowed the guitar part, that sort of motif, from a Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons song, I think called Come On Mary Ann. So if you find that on YouTube, you can hear it and you can see, oh yeah, it's kind of like that. It's a little slower, but it's this exact same sort of thing. Okay, so I'm playing on my Doubleneck only because I don't play on this thing enough, and I love this guitar. I'm going to teach you the rhythm guitar parts on the 12 string, not because I think he used a 12 necessarily. I don't know that he did. I don't think he did. But I'm going to do the rhythm guitar on here, and then we're going to learn the lead part, and I'll play that down here. Doesn't matter. You can play it all on a 6 string. It's fine. Okay, so standard tuning. This opening riff is in A minor, and he's playing, as far as I can tell, he's playing sort of this part of an A minor, just the top part, right? And what you hear between him and Ray Manzarek on the keyboards is you hear this climbing. Okay, so the way I'm going to show you this is you're going to use your A minor chord voicing here, and you're going to use your pinky to accentuate the note climb that's happening on the keyboard, and he may be playing it on guitar too and doubling. It's difficult to hear, but I love the way it sounds, so we're going to learn it that way. But you're going to hear the note climb from You're going to hear that over the whole A minor chord, right? So it sounds something like this. Okay, so all I did was keep that shape. Again. I'm sort of accentuating that. And you end it right there on that note. But way you can play that. Now the chord progression is really interesting here. He plays it in, it's sort of a repeating pattern that moves across 2+ positions. So first chord is G, B minor. Now the next chord is a C. He's not going to play it like that on the record, but I'll do the chord here first. And then you're going to change to what you would think is sort of an unfamiliar chord on a progression like this. You would go to a D sharp or an E flat. I don't know what you call it, whatever, but it's that one, which you can play it from that position, right? So, or you can play it in this position, which then becomes your transition chord to a B flat. So it's sort of like this creates the suspension, and that's where you want to resolve it to, and that's why this sort of climbing pattern works. And then you do the exact same interval, just starting from B flat. So B flat, D minor now, and either way you can do this one or this one. And then again, you resolve to, if that's the 4 chord of the next root, so the next root is a D flat. And the riff there is, I like to play it in that position because I like to get that high note in there. You could also play it down here. Right? So let me run through 2 different ways to play that. Is one way you could do it. I didn't do all the rhythm on the right hand, but those are the chord positions. Here's another way. If you use that voicing, you just have to be very careful that you're only hitting the lower, you know, those strings 1, 2, and 3, and not hitting the other. But either works when you've got other instrumentations that fills it out nicely. Now, one nuance that he does when he's playing these chords on the record is he plays the first 2 of the 4 chords, and then he plays a little hammer-on riff that he does on the last 2. So I showed you what the chords were. But the way he actually plays it is more like this. And then he does over the C, and then over the E flat, same thing. Then he's back to chords. So that's the little nuance that he has on there. It sparkles, and there's so many other things going on in terms of the rhythm with the horns and everything else that he doesn't have to be holding down all these chords throughout the whole thing to keep the rhythm, and it's just a great little touch. No pun intended. Okay, then it goes to the pretty chorus part, which is an F sharp, F minor, F sharp, G sharp, or you could also play it up here. And it starts all over again on A minor, but such a cool like chord progression. You just don't hear that often, right? Okay, so that just repeats a couple times, and then it goes to the vamping sort of outro of the song, which is all happening with the A minor. And it sort of sticks. It doesn't do that climb. It's more just living on that A minor. this is where the sax solo comes in. Now the sax solo is interesting, and I love doing this. This is a great exercise to expand your, at least it is for me, and I would suggest it for others too, to expand your sort of frontier where you choose to start soloing or noodling from. Try and find songs that have a solo or a musical section on there where the solo is not played by the guitar, where the solo is played by a piano or a saxophone or clarinet or something that's just different from the guitar. And you know, if you have the ability to play by ear, to learn things by ear, mimic that. Because what you find, at least for me, is I start, you know, they start from different places than I would naturally do from a guitar standpoint, and it just takes you to another place a little bit. Now this is interesting because it's in A minor. Whoop, I'm going to kick on a little gain here because to sort of sound like that gritty saxophone. Let me turn down the grit a little bit. Okay, so this is happening over an A minor chord, and sort of, you know, when you're in A minor, and you're sort of in the blues rock world, you a lot of times start from, you know, from this pentatonic position. You know, there's the other A minor pentatonic position. And what I learned was he actually does play from a sort of a pentatonic approach, but he starts it from a note that you wouldn't normally start it from, at least many guitar players don't. So all the notes in the solo are actually right here, and I would recommend playing it right here at the 12th fret. So starting on the D string, the whole solo is on those notes right there. And if you look at it, it's just making a shape around an A minor chord right there at the 12th fret. So that's where everything's happening, right? So the first note he starts with, again, this is over an A minor. First note he starts with is a B, which I thought was interesting. But I'm just going to walk through the part here slowly, and we'll talk about it. Again, everything's happening over an A minor vamp. So everything right there is, maybe one little, that note was in there, but that's all very, it almost feels like E minor pentatonic like shape, right? And the only different note that's going to come into play here is this C note. So anyway. Next part. That was interesting. That's like it's almost like a C triad you're building off of. Getting up to that G note. That was just outlining an A minor chord. Right? And then he does this little flourish. That's approximating, right? He's just doing whatever you do on a saxophone to make that, but the notes that I can pick out are these. So I'm just trying to do a hammer-on pull-off. And he ends with that little, gets that note. Then he goes up to a D. Then he ends it with ending on that. The strings are coming in to build, right? And the string comes in with a climactic there. That'll be a cool note to hit too. But the sax ends with this little, right? And then the big ending is, and do you know what is said over that part? Have you learned that yet? You hear that very low vocal over it. Dun, 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 dun. He actually says, I don't know who says it, but it's actually stronger than dirt. Stronger than dirt. And the reason it's stronger than dirt is because it was sort of a joke. I think they recorded that musical part, and that's the same little bit. That's the exact same thing that happens at the end of an old Ajax commercial, Ajax detergent commercial back in the 60s, where they go stronger than dirt. So somebody just flew that in, recorded it, and they loved it, which I love too. Okay, well that's Touch Me by The Doors. I hope you learned something new. Hey, if you like this kind of thing and you haven't done so already, please jump down and click subscribe and ring the bell. Let you know when I drop new content, which I do every single week. Let me know in the comments what you thought about this, and if there's another song you want me to take on and do a similar lesson on, let me know that too. And until next week, take care everybody.